Morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Morning, Wojciech. Morning, FTNet. Morning, Paul. Morning, Evil. Morning, Ismet. How are you? Sorry, I'm just setting up a new EA on the terminal, and I've been trying to get it done quickly. So I'm just checking the settings quickly to make sure they're right. 10:05, 10:05, 10:05. Because I want it to trade today if I can. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. Hopefully this will take some trades on the FTSE and the NAS this morning. Let me just pop the open lines on there. Right. Come back to that in a minute and explain. How is everybody? Morning, morning, morning. So markets are open. DAX is breaking short. Thanks for the follow. Oteng. Welcome aboard. Come on, I haven't had one of those for a while. Maybe that wasn't working. Now it is. Thanks for the follow, Oteng. Thanks for subscribing even. Morning, Monkey. Morning, Evil. Is this the new OLB? It is. Happy Friday, James. Yeah, so I'm just live testing it this morning on Global Prime. What I wanted to check out was this. I wanted to check the swaps on Global Prime because this is the broker I'm going to switch to for indices. The only downside, which I want to see how the EAs handle it. The only downside is you can only trade in 0.1s rather than micros, which isn't ideal, but is not a game changer because I can recode the EA to work with that. But I just want to see how it handles it, basically. So I'm going to take the 5-minute opening range or 10 stroke 15 today instead of the pre-market. Guys in the members room members streams will know what I'm doing, basically, because I've been covering this new variation on the strategy. But I just want to see how it works. Let me just quickly change that so it's not so intrusive. What color did I use? Oh, what did I use then? I don't know. I'm a bit of a... Need it to be exactly the same on everything, otherwise it annoys me. Never mind. I'm going to change it. Right. Okay, I'll come back to that in a minute. Literally in 2 minutes. Right, quick recap. Friday today, and yesterday we had the euro rates come out. Nothing shocking at all there with the euro rates. Lagarde basically saying everything we expected. Carry on dropping those rates, continuing down to 2%, just neutral to, bearish for the euro. We had GDP and unemployment coming out for the US. Roundabout, GDP was down. We were expecting it to be down, but it came out quite down. So if you look at the US yesterday, it's a bit tricky to tell what the hell happened yesterday, and I'll cover that spike in a minute. But as you can see with the US yesterday, really no movement much on that news at all yesterday. But obviously Trump blew everything up yesterday, which we'll look at in a sec. So nothing really moved on unemployment. GDP was forecast to come down. I don't think the market's too worried about this because this GDP figure is last quarter. That was Biden. That isn't going to be the same moving forward, is it, with Trump? So I think that's probably why we didn't get a reaction. It's quite a big miss, but no real reaction from the market. Euro preliminary CPI comes out today for Germany. This is released in 6 states. So the numbers come out gradually throughout the morning. Typically, we have them by around about 10 o'clock. So that will potentially move the euro this morning. We're expecting that CPI figure to be dropping, which is why they dropped the rates. And they will continue to do that as long as those CPI numbers come out low. So we could see some additional weakness in the euro this morning. We've got Canadian GDP this afternoon. Market's not really going to bother about that because Trump's just put 25% tariffs on Canada, so it doesn't matter. Their GDP's screwed. And then we got PCE and the employment cost index later as well at 1:30. So that's an hour before market open. So it's been a busy week this week. We've had a lot of CPI numbers. We've had a lot of interest rates coming out for the Fed, for Canada, for Euro. Very, very busy week. The Swiss coming out again saying that they're going to drop down to negative interest rates if required. So it's been one of those weeks where there's been a hell of a lot of potential volatility. But if you look at the week, it's been absolutely dire. A lot of the currencies just haven't managed to go anywhere this week. So this is obviously today, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Really not a lot of movement at all this week. A lot of flatlining. Market's still concerned about what Trump is going to be doing. But I've got out of virtually everything. It's the first month I think I've had, not ever, but this is unheard of, being flat with no exposure on. It just shows you how quiet this market is at the moment. I've got out of everything, banked 13.5%, and am flat. There's nothing set up. There's nothing I can get into. Nothing is moving. RSI dash flat, ADR dash. We've got a couple of weeklies in there, but it's so quiet. So yeah, so that's basically what we've had this week. Very, very, very little movement. Let me just quickly see if these are working. Yes. Okay, so let me just quickly oh my god, I've got a test running as well. So it's a bit of a hectic morning this morning. That's finished. That's good. Let me just get that data out, pop it in there. Hell, that can't be right. Oh, hang on a minute, that's not right. Shit. Sorry, got to rerun that test. I forgot to skip useless parameters. I need to see how many didn't pass the test. I'm going to rerun that. I'll just put that down there for a minute. So 895, 10% of ADR. So that is too small. Good. It's working. Way better for life. Message retracted. Okay. I don't know if you're saying good morning or what. Morning, Peter. Morning, Blue Trader from Pontevedra. Finally a sunny day. Peeing down with rain here. Not sunny at all. Crap. Did you get triggered into Swiss yen yesterday? No, because I don't trade the yen at the moment. But if you are trading the yen yesterday, you probably did, because it was an ADR yesterday. So ADR is 127. That did 185 yesterday. So you'd have been triggered in long, depending on how you're getting in, what EA you're getting in with, what strategy. You probably got in. What, 127? So that was ADR. So your first signal long would have been, if you're using the market reverse alert CA, you probably got in somewhere around there. So you're at a break even at the minute. Maybe taking a second entry, in which case then you're in profit. But yeah, I'm not trading yens at the minute. Yeah, so this is the first month I'm flat. Weird. So if we look at the VPS, this account is the H1 RSI mean reversion account, which has done 13%. I've got another account running now with the EA on a new account, basically, because I'm moving some money around into different places, and I wanted to change the balances I'm running on each of the strategies. So this hasn't taken any trades. There hasn't been a setup on H1 RSI pretty much all week. We haven't had one. It's flat. It's bizarre, absolutely bizarre at the moment. So that is basically the H1 RSI, totally flat, no trades on, no signals. ADR 125 banked 3% this week, but only had 2 trades on that as well. Obviously, if you're trading the yens, then obviously it's a slightly different kettle of fish. But yeah, it's very weird at the moment. Zone Trader EA, we'll go through all the zones in a minute. Bank 19.87% on that this month. Fantastic month. Got out of US dollar Swiss. Actually, New Zealand dollar US dollar was the one I just got out of this morning. So that triggered, I posted this in Discord. That was that short, basically, that I wanted to get out at support resistance here, which is now bounced out of the support, going up into the resistance. So it's flipped long. But I'll look at those all in a minute. But yeah, very, very bizarre this month. Euro New Zealand ADR. So we've got some ADRs coming in this morning. We'll go through those. Let me just quickly check what's going on over here. So that's the 10-minute ORB. So I just need to do some manual measurements. 123. I'm looking for 1700. That's good. So short triggered on that at 540, which is 2 times ADR. It's working, everybody. Like it. Don't think we're going to get a trade on that today, but we'll see. Needs a bit more movement on that. I'll explain what this all is in a minute for those that aren't in the member streams. Right, so yeah, ADRs today. Oh yeah, sorry, just before I do that, ADRs. Yesterday, I did post this in the group. Hopefully you saw it in Discord. Morning, Neo. Morning, Barry. Morning, Virginia. Morning, JC. Morning, everybody else. George, who I haven't said hello to. I did close out yesterday Euro CAD. So just to cover what happened last night with Trump. Morning, Barrier Man. Did you see yourself yesterday? You gave the game away in the ECB press conference. You're meant to hide until the photographers have gone, and then we guess which way you come from. But you poked your head out yesterday, and we saw you before the press conference started. Anyway, so I got out of EuroCAD yesterday. I took a loss on it of 0.7%, which was here. I posted it in the group. The reason being is we had this massive spike up yesterday on everything against the CAD, basically. And then it retracted most of it. And what I was worried about was the Canadian dollar just collapsing from here. It hasn't. It's reverted back to the mean. I could have got out with less loss, but I'm not taking that risk. So basically last night, Trump decided to confirm the tariffs going into place, which were meant to start on Saturday. But he confirmed last night that those tariffs are going in. Yeah, and also the BRICS thing, which I'll cover in a minute. God, he's not letting up, is he? So there we go. So there's the news last night. So Trump, I'm to announce Canada and Mexico tariffs because of fentanyl. Basically, people crossing the border, drugs crossing the border. He's had enough, basically. If you don't stop it, Canada and Mexico, you can't import anything to us. It's 25% more if you want to do it. So there's 25% tariffs now on the CAD and the peso, which means that Canada's going to find it very difficult to sell to the US. But inversely, the US is going to find it very hard to get hold of wood. And maple syrup, which they have on pancakes all the time. 3 biggest exports from Canada: oil, wood, maple syrup. America uses a lot of wood and a lot of maple syrup. So good luck, you Americans, having your breakfasts. But anyway, so that's happened. So obviously what happened yesterday was the Canadian dollar collapsed because we were warned about it. We were expecting it, possibly, but we weren't sure whether it was going to happen. It did. So if you look at all the CAD pairs yesterday, we had this huge spike. If you look at something like the CAD Swiss, obviously a huge drop. So the Canadian dollar collapsed back down again. But like I said, with these Trump announcements, they tend to be retracements. So like I said, I've been saying since Trump was announced that he was coming in, I said, you're going to get this happening. We've had 4 of them now already. He's only been in a week. We've had 4 Trump spikes. We get these moves and 90% of them retrace back to the origin of the move because it's Trump saying something without telling anybody, the market panicking, checking out the facts and going, what the hell is he on about? Because that is what he does. He talks bollocks. The plane crash. There was a diversity issue in traffic control. Therefore, planes crashed into each other. Let's inject bleach into it. It's just an idiot, isn't he? Basically, let's face it. He hasn't got a bloody clue how to fact check anything before he says it. So that's what we get. We get this, and then we get complete retracement. This one, however, is not signed off yet, but the fact that he said it again 2 days before it's meant to happen, and there's no way Canada and Mexico can do anything about the situation at the moment. They can't fix it overnight, so therefore they are getting 25% tariffs kicking in. So that one I was worried about, because I thought there was a chance of that one just accumulating and continuing, and this propulsion gap never getting filled, because this is really bad news for Canada. Not being able to do major export to your biggest trade partner without paying 25% tariffs is going to hurt your economy, the GDP. Absolutely. Yeah. The fact that they've just dropped interest rates as well, which means that it's becoming cheaper for businesses to borrow money, people to borrow money, etc. But also that devalues your currency. Having your currency devalued on the same day as Trump announces 25% tariffs, I thought could potentially do that. It didn't. I got it wrong. Doesn't matter. I'm out. So, but I can't see any way forward for the Canadian dollar, particularly now, strength-wise. So if I look at all the CAD pairs at the moment, there's a few I can trade, which basically I need to be long against the CAD. So Aussie dollar CAD is fine. I can trade that one. CAD Swiss, I can't go short, so I won't be trading CAD Swiss. I mean, I might do, but I mean, I'm not expecting the CAD to go up. Euro CAD, I want to be going long on it. I can only go short. So it's going to restrict my ability to trade. I can go long pound CAD, which is good. But it's going to restrict my ability to trade the CAD moving forward, because the swap costs obviously are what's deeming direction for me at the moment, obviously because some of these are very, very large. So as long as I've got a long opportunity, which I have there as well, I'll trade it. But the Canadian dollar is going to really struggle. So just be aware of that if you're taking ADR reversals or any mean reversions against the Canadian dollar. So if the Canadian dollar drops and you're looking to buy the CAD, there's absolutely no reason for that to go bull at the moment. So just be aware and be careful with it. Other than that, we had him coming out after that and saying, I'm going to have a think about oil tonight. Because the other thing he wanted to do was to force restrictions on Saudi oil production, somehow bypassing OPEC. I don't know how he's going to do it, but also limiting oil costs to $60 a barrel. Why? Because they've got a massive surplus of it. And if everybody else's oil prices drop, they'll be able to sell more of their own supply to Canada. Well, not to Canada because they're an exporter as well, but sell it everywhere. So basically, Trump is trying to corner the oil market. And this is what he was saying when he got in, we're going to drill, get more of that stuff, because that's what the world works on. It's in everything you own, everything you wear, everything you use mechanically. It's all driven by oil. So incredibly important. We have all the lumber we need. We don't need your timber, Canada. You tell that to the businesses that manufacture things in wood, Trump. I think you'll find that they all get it from Canada, because you've got rules that say you can't chop down your national parks. See what I mean? Does not think about what he says and what he's doing. China is going to end up paying a tariff as well. China trade war about to kick off. He's in the process of doing a China tariff. When that's announced, you're going to get another whacking great 200, 300 ADR spike in the US dollar, one way or the other. We had other things said as well, which are here. Potential 100% tariffs if BRICS is attempted. BRICS is obviously the Brazilian, it's just the conglomerate, everybody else basically, isn't it? It's Russia, China, India, etc., etc. It's basically the alternate dollar, if you like, that they're trying to create. He says, if that happens, we'll just put 100% tariffs on you. Trump, they ain't going to need you if they do that, because it will kill the dollar off. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're saying, if you shoot me, I will shoot back. Sorry, you're dead. Pointless. Doesn't work. He's an idiot. Anyway, but BRICS unlikely to replace the US dollar. You tell that to the largest economies, which are bigger than you, creating BRICS. Yeah, it's like standing in front of a steam train and saying, "I'm going to stop you with the force of my hand." You're not, because the steam train is bigger than you. You can't stop it. So all this stuff, basically, as I said, the first 2 weeks of his inauguration basically are going to cause absolute chaos in all markets. You're going to see stock markets flying everywhere, other currencies collapsing, rallying. The Swiss franc and the yen are going to benefit from this, because if the market is uncertain where it needs to go, the Swiss franc and the yen are going to get pumped with currency, which means that they will strengthen. So everything against the yen will come down, everything against the Swiss will come down. So just be aware of what is going on. You know, I've said it many times. I've traded through a Trump presidency before. It's completely unpredictable. So we've got the French CPI numbers just come out as a negative. Again, bad for France, bad for euro. Just see if that's had an impact on the euro. Yeah, busy stuff. Yeah, go. Euro's coming down on that news slightly, not much, but a little bit of negative movement creeping in. We'll have a look at those ADRs in a minute. So there you go. So that's your overnight news. This morning, we're obviously preparing for the German CPI, which again is pretty much 50% of Euro CPI, which is why it's so important. And then we got poor old CAD GDP. So Canadians have dropped their interest rates. They've had 25% tariffs. And if their GDP numbers drop this morning, you may as well just sell everything you've got in the CAD. If you are long the Canadian dollar, get out now. It's not going to go up. Do the US need Canadian oil? No, the US are a surplus producer, so they have excess stocks. They produce. The US produce more than they can use, so they are an excess provider. Canada are also an excess provider of oil. It's their main export, but not because they produce more than they can consume. They do, but obviously Canada's a lot smaller in population, and their oil fields aren't as big either. So for Canada and the US, they both have surpluses, and a lot of countries buy from them. It's just more expensive. Canadian and US oil is typically more expensive because pipelines to Europe and the Middle East don't exist. So the reason we get our oil from Saudi and everywhere in Europe is because we have pipelines coming through Russia, Ukraine, etc., over to us, which is why all of our prices and CPI shot through the roof when the Russian war started, because all of a sudden our oil supplies dropped and we went, hang on a minute, we need oil. US ship it over. Because it's shipped over, the cost is more. So what Trump wants to do is restrain Saudi production, which will allow them to sell more of theirs at a cheaper cost. So basically, Saudi sell up here, US sell up here. What US will do is restrain their supply, drop the price of US oil, which means that they will supply all the oil, and he will cap the price at $60, which is great for everybody in the world because it brings oil prices down. But it starts a war with trade war, another trade war. Yeah, it's what it's all about. Make America great by making them rich. But what he doesn't understand is that the other big continents over there, China, India, not so much Russia, but all of that lot over there, are all clubbing together. And as a whole, they are 10 times bigger than the US. So it seems to me like a last-ditch attempt to try and remain in control, as the US has always been, of financial markets. And it's not working, I don't think. But you look at the US last time Trump was in. So if you look at something like Euro US is the easiest gauge. I've got US dollar index on here. That's good. Let's get rid of that spread. I want that on there. I've got no data. I haven't got any data going back on this broker. So short on the DAX, no trade on the FTSE this morning. Yeah, so if you go back and look at the last Trump administration, which was 2021. It ended, didn't it? So somewhere around there. And then going back to 2000 and 17-ish, I guess, somewhere around here, yeah. That's what happened to the US dollar during the majority of Trump. 2000, it's 4-year term, isn't it? So Biden is with 2025. Biden's been in for 4 years. 2025, 4, 3, 2, 1. So January 21, Biden would have got in. Yeah, which is here. 4-year term for Trump. That is what happened to the US dollar last time Trump was in. He was amazing for the economy, but what people do not tie up a lot of the time is good for the economy is good for business, good for the stock market. The stock market did very well, but when stocks do well, dollar does badly. When dollar does well, stocks do badly. They're inversely correlated. So actually, no, it did do well. That's not true. This is the euro US dollar, so this is the inverse of the US dollar. But yeah, it was the end. Sorry, it was the end that didn't do well. But that was obviously when COVID came in. But if you look at it, it's not amazing. Basically, what I'm trying to say is he didn't suddenly make everything go parabolic in the US. Because what he tends to do is put restrictions in place, which are good and stable, but don't necessarily stimulate the US dollar as much as they should do. So, but we will see what happens. But yeah, just be very, 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 very careful at the moment. Right. So let's quickly look at ADRs today. Euro New Zealand is hit. So that's coming down. Obviously, there's potential long opportunity to go there. I'm looking for shorts on this. So if you want to take that long, there is a long opportunity coming in. I'd be more interested in taking something out of this propulsion, somewhere down at 125 to 150 ADR. But it is extended on ADR. We're just taking out the previous day's low from Wednesday. So pushing up into propulsion, if you want to take that. Drop down M5. Wait for the reversal alert. There's a 3-bar reversal and reversal alert at ADR, literally going in now. If this candle closes more bullish, there's your 3-bar reversal, which is also your reversal alert. So good looking long opportunity there. However, you're long in the euro. And we've got the CPI figure coming out this morning as well. Morning, Brandon. UK 100 staying in its opening range today. Yep. We'll look at that in a sec. New Zealand dollar Swiss. So that's above ADR. You have actually already had a reversal alert on that this morning. So there would have been one there. And immediately it turned tail and invalidated that and put a new trigger in, which will be going roughly, not far away. So there's an opportunity for a short New Zealand dollar Swiss. Bear in mind the Swiss franc is correlated with the euro. So if we get massive negative movement on the euro today on the CPI numbers, obviously that will go up as well. The Swiss franc will weaken. New Zealand dollar yen is also hit. So that's an ADR hit. That one's just literally taken off. Reversal alert's gone in. There's your reversal at ADR. So you could look for a retest short. It's coming out of propulsion. So if we're going to maintain market structure short, that should remain intact. That's potentially it. But that is a double bottom bounce off the last month's low. So be careful. That is potentially what is going to happen here. We're buying those lows up. Weeklies, not a lot. We were on Friday. Most of the stuff that we can see here is yen or CAD related. It's a bit of a messy week, so I wouldn't really try and mean revert any of those today. It's a little bit of a mess. RSI extensions, we haven't got any. As I said, I'm not in anything new because we've just had nothing this week. nothing set up. I've banked everything, but nothing set up. So nothing to look at there. 4-hour RSI, you got Swiss yen is the only thing. That was an ADR hit yesterday. And I think it was an ADR hit the day before as well. 127, we did 1391. So we've had a double ADR back to back. So you had a long opportunity there. Then we had an ADR here. Long opportunity went in there at about 125, 150 ADR, something like that, 125-ish. We pushed down today. Another reverse alert's gone in. This one looks like it's the retest and continuation back up. So that would be my target to the upside. Assume that's maybe a 50% retracement on a down leg. Bear in mind, that's that yen. If there is a safe haven run, that's going to power up. However, so will the Swiss franc. So this will kind of do that if they both power up at the same time. Good evening from my car. Good evening, Dallas. I hope you're not driving and watching. If you're listening, that's okay. Look out, there's a bus. So it was a joke. I hope you're still there, Dallas. Okay. So there we go. So there's your ADRs and RSIs. We'll cover the zones in a second. Let me just quickly check what's going on here. So for those that aren't in the member streams, why is that reading an open profit of 26? That's because it's working on bar close. There we go. I should upload it together now. So yeah, so basically the opening range breakout strategy, you're probably aware of. There's loads of information on it on my website. I've got 2 variations of the ORB that I run at the moment already, or I don't run that one. I run the SIH. But I'm working on a new variation of it, which is partly to do with a Swiss study into a variant of it that uses directional bias and volume analysis. So I decided to rerun a different variation, and what this version of the opening range breakout strategy is testing is it's using the min-max range based on ADR from the stock index hedge strategy, and it's using the 5, 10, 15 minute opening ranges from the ORB strategy, combines the two together and trades dynamically based on range and individual timed breakouts. So what it's doing in effect is at the open, it waits for the 5-minute candle to go in. It analyzes the 5-minute range to see if it's within an area that produces alpha, produces a profit historically. If not, it then waits for the next candle to close. If the next candle closes with inside, it just ignores it. If the next candle closes with inside, it just ignores it. And we go, there isn't a break today, let's leave it. Because if you haven't got that initial volume and volatility in that first 15 minutes, and it isn't somewhere between 10 to 20% of the average daily range, you don't tend to get a profitable break. So that's what I'm analyzing, and that's what I'm doing the statistics on at the moment. If at the 5-minute range we don't manage to get a trade on, and then the 10-minute range does something like that, and that range is then actually tradable, it will then adjust pending orders to take a break of the 10-minute range. If the 15-minute range is within inside the 10, it remains where it is, and it just waits for that range to break, and it takes trades. But it only takes 2 trades, one long, one short. If there is a trade taken on the 5-minute ORB and that stops out because it's a stop loss based strategy, as you can see, it will then analyze the 10 and 15-minute ranges and replace those trades to try and take a new break on the new range formed. So it's a much more advanced analytical or kind of AI version, if you like, of the opening range breakout strategy. And it's all based on the statistics that I've been running based on another study which is to do with opening range volume. So Obviously, I am monitoring the volume here, but the problem with volume is it's different on every broker. So if I stick this on my Robo Forex broker now, that 190 will not be 190 because every single broker gives a different range, different volume, because there's no centralized volume in CFD trading. Then also there's additional variables that I'm going to be testing to do with this, to do with trailing stops based on each range. And I'm also going to be testing the 30-minute and the 60-minute ORB, which is called the initial balance. So the initial balance is the first 60 minutes of trading on each market. To see what the statistics on those are, basically, and how best to trade those. So the goal of this EA is to build a picture of the best case scenarios to take on each range, and what to do, how big they should be historically, out of sample test all of that data to find a correlation between in sample getting good results and out of sample getting verified results, and basically testing every single one of the markets. So that's FTSE, that's DAX. I'm doing 1,700 system parameter permutation tests on each index to find out what the return on drawdown is on each variation of the strategy. At the moment, virtually all of them are giving good profit, apart from the Dow. The Dow struggles. It is a much slower index because it's only got 30 stocks in it and they're industrial. It's not a fun sector, industrial. It tends to be more ploddy, so it doesn't respond as well to ORB across any time frame. So I think S&P, NAS, they're very similar. So I think, I mean, I don't know. I haven't decided yet anyway, but that's what the statistics are all for, is all the analysis. So that's what this is basically. And what I'm doing here is I'm just forward testing. So I've done all the back testing. I've tested all the logic, checked it all. So this is basically forward testing to make sure that the logic executes correctly. And it has. So it hasn't taken any trades there, which is correct because I'm looking for a 20% minimum range. It has taken a trade there because that is above 20%. And it only took the one trade because it's in the 5-minute ORB. The 10-minute candle was an inside bar. We then triggered on the 15-minute short. It's now painted in the 15-minute, but there's no pending order because we're already short. We don't want to double up the trade. So it's basically, it's just checking that the logic is executing correctly in live trading at the minute. So this is a contender here for the 30-minute ORB. Which will be triggering, oh, it's already triggered, I missed it. So that's the 30-minute ORB there. That candle is a 30-minute candle. So that is your 30-minute opening range. Again, it's too small to trade. So there's no volume. So there's no point in trading a breakout momentum strategy when there is no momentum. Yeah, this is the whole purpose of all this testing, to identify how the volume affects the profitability of the strategy. So this is all ongoing, and I'm doing all this in the members room. So if you want to come and check it out, you can. The 1 hour ORB is also worth a check. Yeah, but nowhere near as good as any other. All the statistics gathered on it on the initial balance break are bad. Think about the what the 1 hour initial balance is. Yeah, it's the first hour's trading. Within 1.5 hours of the open, you have 90% of the volume of the day. Not quite 90%, but a very large proportion of the volume of the day executed within 1.5 hours of the open. Usually within 1.5 hours with a 90% accuracy, you have found the high or the low of the session. Therefore, if you take a break of the first hour, most days you won't be able to achieve a 1R return on it, because within an hour, you will have usually moved more than 30 to 40% of the day's average range, which means if you want to get a 2R out of that, and you were bracketing, for example, here, you will struggle to get that distance. So there isn't a way to trade. There is a way to trade the initial balance, but the initial balance has to be traded with a small stop loss, and it has to be a clean break of the initial balance. And the reason it works, that trade, is because within that first hour of trading, the vast majority of the volume is done, which is your algorithmic, your large orders, all the big orders, which are messy. And then the speculative desks take over and try to form a trend for the day. So you need to look at that initial balance on the hour, and the test for it, the parameter test for it, is stop loss. So it's just a case of typically what percentage of ADR stop loss would produce the biggest number of clean breaks. And that's obviously one of the tests that is being performed with this EA as well. So that is part of the testing, but the first stage is 5, 10, 15, because those are the ones that generate 90% of the revenue, because that's where the volume comes in. That first 15 minutes, you got a massive volume spike. So, but it'll be analyzed that as well. And obviously if it's got an edge, it'll be traded. So I've been experimenting with a 15-minute opening range using a break and retest. Yeah, you can try that, but the problem with that is you miss all the breaks without retest. The ones that go parabolic to 5R within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you miss them all. There's no right or wrong. That will work as well, Thought Feeder, but you can give me any range, any time frame, and I will give you a statistic that works. Look at this. I've got 1,700 tests here on the NASDAQ, which I've filtered. But I've got 1,700 variations of the opening range breakout strategy using 5, 10, 15-minute opening ranges, multiple stop losses, delete pending orders in the opposite direction, only trade in the direction of the open, select minimum, maximum ranges at the open, different stop loss TP, risk reward ratios, using martingale, not using martingale. There's 1,728 variations of the strategy. Yeah. Of those 1,728 versions of the strategy, there are 96 that don't make money. Yeah. So yours will work as well. I've got 1,600 versions of ORB that all generate alpha. It's not a case of which is best. You've just got to pick one. It all works. We know it all works. I've tested this to death for years, which is why I trade it. But if you wait for a retest, the downside, and this is why with the market reversal alerts indicator, I never wait for retests. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful reversal alert. Yeah, that's your entry. Long, nice. Stop loss under there. You got a 1.5 R-ish maybe. If you're waiting for a retest on this, and what it does is just do an accumulation break up to here today, you don't get in the trade. So who's right and who's wrong? Me for taking it clean, or you for waiting for the retest? I made money, you didn't. It's a 50-50 shot every time you press the button. So it will work waiting for that initial break, retest, and then take that. Yeah, but look at where we get in. I get in at exactly the same place as you get in on the retest. I get in on the break, you get in on the retest of the break. What's the advantage? For me, you miss that. And if it does this, we both get stopped out anyway. No advantage. Doesn't matter. It's 50-50. It's a flip of a coin every time you press the button, isn't it? We know that. Right. Let's put him back now. Okay, so zones. Let me whiz over to the VPS. And we'll go through the zones today. I assume this is a new index EA, could run without a VPS as it's intraday. Yeah, you can. Obviously, you need to have it running. All EAs need to run on a machine that's turned on, obviously. But if it's an intraday strategy, you don't need a VPS. So I don't run SIH or ORB on a VPS. I only run, this is my VPS. I only run swing strategies on the VPS. Don't need to, you can do, it doesn't make any difference really, but obviously you don't need to. To use a directional bias? No. There's no point in using a directional bias, Tom, because it's a momentum breakout strategy, and it doesn't matter what you use as directional bias, the price goes up and down. It's binary, goes up and goes down. Yeah. So if you say I'm only going to take longs and it breaks short for 5 days on the trot, you miss all of that money. Yeah. And likewise, if it's going down, you miss all the long breaks. So, you know, I've said it before. What has this candlestick got to do with today's price? Nothing. This is in a downtrend at the moment. Yeah, we're below the 72 moving average. We're below the 24 moving average. It's trending down. Yeah. So what did you do these days? Yeah. Since we closed below these moving averages and these moving averages started to point down and price got below these moving averages, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 days, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up days out of 16. Yes, admittedly, there's a few more down days, but I'm not going to just miss all of this money because there's a line on my chart that shows me that price has been going down. You can see that, but it doesn't mean it can't go up when it's in a long-term downtrend. That's what mean reversion is all about. Opening range breakout strategy is momentum based. Yeah, so if the momentum today is going long against the trend, you go with the momentum today because we're trading intraday. We're not trading swing. If you're swing trading and you want to get in short in the Swiss yen because that's the way it's going, fine. Use a trend direction to filter your trades. But what happened yesterday, the day before, or last week hasn't got anything to do with today because last week was a bull week. So should I just be going long this week? Damn right, I shouldn't. Doesn't make any difference, does it? Trend trading, if you've got a trend strategy, yeah, directional bias. And a lot of people trade long only on the indices, and I get that because indices are manufactured to go up. Yeah, so stock indices, their job is to go up. We know that. They always do. They always have done. They always will. Because that's their job. But that doesn't mean that 50% of the days are not bear. All these bear days. Loads of them. Tons. I won't do a count, but I'm going to put my neck out and say 60% of the days are long and 40% of the days are short. Do you want to miss 40% of the trading opportunities just because there's a line that says go long? If you're a trend trader or mean reversion trader using RSI or some kind of oscillator to buy pullbacks, yes, but you're not going to get in on a pullback and get out the same day, are you? You're going to get in on a pullback and hold it, which is what we do with the zone trading strategy. Yeah, it's a swing strategy. So directional bias is more important because it's potentially going to continue. So as mentioned in that comment, it takes fewer trades but more reliable. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to take fewer trades in the direction of the trend, but look, these are the statistics. Yeah. So this is the NASDAQ. The 17,000 system parameter permutation tests organized by return on drawdown. So the best return on drawdown or the best variations of the strategies at the top, the worst ones are at the bottom. Yeah. This is trade in the direction of the open column, which says, should I trade only using a directional bias? And every single one of them is a 0 at the top. Then you get the odd ones popping in here and there. But it basically, my statistics show that if you trade in the direction of a trend or the opening range or anything, it has absolutely no bearing on profitability. In fact, it's better not to do that because it's a momentum breakout strategy. If you're trading mean reversion or trend, there is an advantage. If you're trading breakout, you're not trading a direction, you're trading an accumulation break. Yeah. So the market momentum is the directional bias, not what happened yesterday, a moving average, or anything else. A candle color, it's got nothing to do with it. A candle color is basically our interpretation of price over time on a time period we select. So I can control this. If I don't like this because it's green and I want it red, I'll look at a 10-minute chart. If I don't like it, I'll look at a 15. Then I'll look at a 30. The 30-minute candle's red. Okay, that's great. That's what I'll take as my directional bias. I can change the bias by adapting whichever moving average I use. It's a human engineered thing, bias. Momentum is momentum. If it goes up out of a range, it's gone up out of a range. If you're a mean reversion trader, you press the sell button. If you're a breakout trader, you press the buy button. The odds are exactly the same of that trade working. It will either or not. So it just doesn't make any difference. See, I've tested all of this for 10 years, which is why I don't use moving averages. The reason people teach moving averages is because it's easy, isn't it? Think about it. What's the easiest thing on the planet to teach somebody? If it's below that line, go short. If it's above that line, go long. Or I could teach a 3-year-old to trade using that method. They won't do very well, but it's really easy, isn't it? And it just tells you what's happened, yeah? Look at the moving average cross, the golden cross as they call it. That is where you go short. Really? No, it's not. It's where you go long, because they teach you to take the moving average crossover as a signal. But it's already happened. The reason this doesn't give you a signal that's any use at all, because it's lagging price by 50 to 100 to 200 candles. I don't want to know what happened 200 days ago. I can see what happened 200 days ago. Price went up. Doesn't help, does it? So directional bias is no use. But I'd love people to prove me wrong on it. No one ever has. No one's ever come to me with a trend strategy that they've been able to produce consistent profit with that is not index-based. Index-based, yes, that would work. US dollar Swiss just hit its weekly range. So US dollar rallying or Swiss franc dropping. This is US dollar rallying. Yen also rallying by the looks of things. So we've got a big rally in the US. Indices should be coming down in America. On the back of that. Right, zones. Nikkei dropped for decades after 1989 top. Nothing goes up forever. Yeah. I don't quite know what the point of that statement is, though. Everything's got to have a top, and everything's got to have a bottom. Picking it, that's the tricky part. There's always somebody, every time there's a stock market crash or a stock market rally, there's always someone that's predicted it, because there's a million people commenting on stocks and everything. Yeah. Someone is going to be right. Yeah. At some point. People become famous because they take a trade at the absolute high of a decade drop and make a fortune. Warren Buffett. Yeah. Do you think his first trades were skill or luck? Luck. He timed the market right. If you timed the Wall Street crash right in 1920, you're a billionaire. If you timed it wrong, you jumped out the building. Someone's always going to get it right and someone's always going to get it wrong. Because the market is binary. Yeah. It will either be the top or it won't. One of those two things is always going to happen, isn't it? Anyway. Right. So going to go on and do the zones. So banked 19.87. Be lovely to get, well, I can bank anything I want now and just get that over 20% if I want to. I could shut that US dollar Swiss and get 20%, but I'm not going to. So that's what I've got on at the moment. I'll go through all the zones. I'm not going to go through each one individually because I'm doing the analysis on these every day. So if you want to see why I put that in there and that in there, go and look at Wednesday's replay. And Wednesday's replay will probably not be saying much different because we haven't really gone very far since then. But short, looking for a continuation on this to the downside. Aussie dollar CAD. Aussie dollar Swiss have longs on at the moment. Just missed my second entry this week on it. Literally by a pip, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd have a lovely average and being a nice profit here. And I may even be considering taking this off there because we've got this big propulsion gap here that potentially could form a new leg down. So this is a break of the high, which has failed. So this is our area of balance at the moment where the market is happy to conduct business. This is a failed breakout. Failed breakouts quite often are starts of trend reversals. So there is a potential for this to come back down and test these lows. But this is the area, if that is the case, that they will add to their shorts, which is a retracement on that leg. So watching this area basically for signs of rejection. The Swiss franc, however, obviously is weak at the minute. So everything up against the Swissy, as long as it has strength, is basically what I'm looking at the moment on this one. Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. I'm waiting to get in short on this. I can't get in at the minute. Just get rid of that line. So yeah, I'm just looking to take a short at the moment. Haven't managed to get in, so I'm gonna just leave it at these highs here. If we come back up and retest this break, as we have twice, I think I probably missed it. I doubt it will get up there again, but if it does form a range down here, then obviously I'll short that. But other than that, I'm just trying to get in. So looking at those highs basically for a short. Aussie US, didn't manage to get my next buy on yesterday. Oh, it closed above, look. Unfortunate. So yeah, that's the next buy area. Needs some price action closing down below that level, and we basically just hit the support and bounced out. So haven't managed to get a new buy on that. I'm leaving that in place. So I'm looking for them to come and hold this level basically, which they did yesterday. So this is basically a failed breakout that's held straight up into there, but we've also got a failed breakout to the upside. So obviously it's just range bound at the minute. Potentially that is the move. However, it could continue to come down, in which case then I'll scale in at these lows and then bounce back out. But if it does hold these lows, and that is a new high, and we're putting in a higher low market structure, that is what we're going to do. Therefore, I'll get out of those highs. CAD Swiss, got longs on at the moment. It's just a mess this week. Absolute mess. CAD and the Swiss franc both had massive news this week. So obviously it's all over the place, but not gone anywhere. That's where we opened. That's where we are. So I'm looking to get out basically up here because it's a bit messy. It's in profit, but we got CAD. Yeah, I mean, do I really want to be long on the CAD? Mind you, against the Swiss franc, I think it's not actually too much of a problem because the Swiss is weak anyway. It's not worth banking anyway at the minute. So I'm going to leave that as it is for the moment and see what happens. Euro odd. Have a short on. Didn't quite get to my next short. They actually took out that high there rather than coming up to that high, which is good news because obviously they haven't invalidated the high, which means that this is potentially the new lower high going in for a retest of the zone low. We are bouncing around at the resistance though at the moment, which happens to be exactly where my average is. So these highs basically are holding up at the moment. If we can break down through that today on negative euro CPI, the German unemployment rate has gone up. That's negative euro. That's good. French CPI was down. That's negative euro. That's good. We haven't had any of the German states release CPI yet. So this morning, obviously, we got the CPI coming out for Germany. So that could also tank the euro further. So I'm looking basically for euro weakness. And either we're going to hold this range or it is going to start to roll over, basically. No strength in the Aussie, though. So we need euro weakness. And Lagarde has obviously confirmed interest rate drops. So there's a good potential for that to happen. Have you ever tested a mean reversion position trading approach to the DAX or other indices? Yeah, there's a set file on the Market Reversal Alerts EA page. So the Market Reversal Alerts EA, if you go to the set files page and go all the way down to the bottom, there is a S&P strategy here. Yeah. Which you can use with the Market Reversal Alerts. Yeah, you could replicate it for this position trader EA as well, because all it's doing basically is buying RSI dips and position trading them. This is not rocket science, hidden magic. This is Warren Buffett's strategy. Yeah. All Warren Buffett does is he buys the dips in the S&P, and he's got an unlimited pot of cash. So all he does is buy the dips in the S&P. If the S&P has a massive down year like we had previously in the last couple of years, doesn't matter. He just holds it. Because you can't go bust if you've got that much money. We can, which is why we need to manage our risk a little bit different. But yeah, there's a strategy there. But if you're going to, a position trading approach on stock indices has to be long only. Yeah, stock indices only go up. They do go down for a period of time. The longest bear run we've ever had is a year. So worst case scenario, you'll have a down year. But that's basically it. So stopped out of that DAX trade. Spike up there on news. There you go. There's your Saxony CPI, and Bavaria have just announced. So Bavaria is down negative 0.3 month on month, 2.5 on annual versus 3 previous. So as Lagarde forecasted, CPI dropping in Germany. Saxony 0.4, previous 0.5, massive drop in CPI. So this is bad euro. North Rhine 0.1 negative on a 0.5 previous, 2.5 down to 2 year on year for the North Rhine. So so 3 out of 6 German states declared now, all massive negatives. So Pound New Zealand ADR as well. Don't forget today as well, guys, it's the last day of the month. Yeah. Banks and institutions work in monthly cycles. This is the last day of the month. You need to get your books balanced. You need to get the P&L pumped so you get your commissions. So a lot of volume will go in to take profit today. So a lot of these ADR moves, RSI moves you're seeing starting to build are profit takes on previous legs. So just be careful. They could go on for a good couple of hundred ADR sometimes at end of month. So euro dropping as you would expect. All the CPI numbers down. We've actually got gap down on the hourlies. Yeah, big numbers down on the euro here for so far for Germany. Obviously, we've got another 3 to declare, but I mean, the first 3 are negative, so this is going to be negative. Bavaria being one of the biggest. So yeah, so stock indices will go opposite direction, which means long break attempt today. So this is what this strategy does basically. It takes a trade. If it doesn't work out, it tries another one. If it doesn't work out, that's it. You just take 2 trades a day. So it's like the SIH in the fact that it limits the number of trades to a maximum of 3 trades a day, because it can only take, at the moment, the way I have it set is a 5, 10, 15 break. But if I introduce the 31 hour, then obviously it could take 5 trades a day. But that's all it does. And then it stops. You know, if you get a choppy session where you're getting this, like we had here, there's no point in trading it. You know, there's no point in continuing to try and make money, because the market could do that all day long. If it hasn't done it at the open in the first hour and a half, you're unlikely to get a move. So that's what that strategy is all about. Right, so come back to the euros. So that's dropping nicely, euro odd. So I'm looking for that to come down into the lows. Euro CAD, that's coming down. Next sell I couldn't get on. It hit. God, look at this. If you need if you ever need convincing that support, resistance, supply and demand is a thing, there you go. Unfortunately, that didn't take another trade. Why did that not? So the reason that didn't take a trade, that should have triggered another trade there, but my EA is set to operate, is set to filter out an hour before and an hour after the swap. So this candle here is the 2300 candle. My EA doesn't operate from 2300 to 01. So that's the reason that trade wasn't taken. If I'd have been running this on the 15-minute chart, it would have taken a trade there because that candle was 22.45. So the difference between entering and exiting, entering a new trade there, adjusting price and average, was me running on a different time frame. Yeah. So nothing I can do about that. It's just the fact that I'm running on the hourly. But yeah, that should have been another entry there, which means the average should be brought up. But target to the downside on this. So if they do come up and double top that, obviously, then I will definitely get another trade on. But target to the downside on this is here, still looking for a retest, which is a retracement on that leg, potentially up. Especially now, obviously, Canadian is going to be weak. But obviously, we've just had all this negative news on the euro. So you've got two weak currencies against each other. This thing could just skip, find balance for weeks now. There's no reason for either of these to be bullish. Euro CAD have longs on at the moment. Euro Swiss. So either looking for it to come up and do the gap fill, or next entry is going to be down in this accumulation before they broke and retested that high there. So I'm getting in down here somewhere for a second entry long, or it's just going to come up and double top. One of those. When do you see releasing your new ORB? Oh, I don't know. It's 6 weeks, maybe. I don't know. It's testing. Testing takes weeks. I don't test. If you've been in here for a while, you know I don't release much. When I do release it, it's because it's been tested to death with system parameter permutation testing, robustness testing, out of sample testing, cross instrument testing, multiple time frame testing. It takes a long time to develop and get a strategy to a point where I'm confident with it. Then it goes into forward testing, and if it passes forward testing, then it gets released. So it's not something that happens in 5 minutes. I'm trying SIH on prop. The firm doesn't allow hedging. You can't use it then. Is there a way to set up ORB with a stop loss? No. Well, yeah, but that's the opening range breakout EA. Yeah. So the only difference between these two which is why they look very similar. That one uses stop losses. That one hedges. But they both trade the open. So use that. ORB uses stop losses. Or use the price action toolkit. The price action toolkit also has a very simplified version of trading the open on it. But it's manual trading buttons. So just trade it manually if you want to use a stop loss. So you can either use price action toolkit or you can use the opening range breakout EA. But that hedges. So, and if you're in America, you can't hedge because you've got FIFO rules. So you can't do that. You can do that, and you can do that. Right, euro pound. So shorts on at the moment. I'm looking for a break-even exit on this. Well, it's not a break-even now because I've already banked twice. So that was initial entry on that retracement bounce there. Then we got the news, which spiked into a symmetrical triangle break. So I'm targeting the symmetrical triangle break retest to the downside. So I've already banked there, which was a profit. I've also banked there, which was a profit before the interest rate announcement. So I've just got these two left on now. So I'm looking basically just to get out of the remainder of the position and be done with it. So very close to exit on that today. I do actually need to readjust my sell on that now. So looking at this area here, so we had an accumulation break and retest, broke it, accumulated, sellers took control, retest. So that is where we're currently selling from. So if it does push back up again, I'm expecting the sellers that took control here to hold. Otherwise, we're just going to come straight down into this symmetrical triangle break where there are either buyers or there aren't, and they're going to get run over. Either way, I'm getting out somewhere around here. because the profit's already banked. This is just the exiting of the remainder of the position. If I can squeeze some extra cash out of it, great. If not, I'm not worried. I won't take longs on it, so it's not going to switch long automatically for me because swaps are too expensive. I'm only looking for shorts on euro. Euro New Zealand price action toolkit works very well. Yeah, this is what started all of the ORB stuff. Because I used to trade ORB in stocks over a decade ago, and I wanted to start getting back into scalping, and we didn't have any toolkits for MT4 or anything at the time, so I built that, and it automatically trades the open for you if you want it to, and it automatically trades price action, does loads of stuff. But that was the precursor to these being built. And the one that I'm working on at the moment is kind of the evolution. This is the thing with strategies, they evolve over time. There's always a better way. This is one of those industries where you never stop learning. And there's always a better way to do something, or a more efficient way to do something. There's a million ways to make money, and I prove it all the time with the system parameter permutation tests. I can run 1,700 tests in this case and get pretty much all of them profitable, which means there's 1,700 different strategies there you can use. So it's not a case of what to trade, it's which one you want to use. But there's always a better way, or a way of reducing drawdown, or making something more efficient. That's all it is. And each evolution of my EAs is the next version I want to trade, because I think it's a better way to do something. And that's basically what trading is. It's just about refining what works, because there's very little that works. Like I said, if you come to the member streams, there's only 3 strategies that exist in trading. Yeah, range bound strategies, breakout strategies, and trend strategies. Yeah, mean reversion is part of trend strategy and range strategy, and then the breakout strategy. That's it. That's all there is. Price can only do 2 things. It can go up and down, and while it's doing that, it's either finding a new price to get to, or it's happy in a price it's in. So you have balance, price discovery, balance. Next stage is going to be price discovery. It's going to go up or down, because there's only 50-50 shot of things it can do, isn't there? That's all price does. And if you simplify it down into, you are either mean reverting or breaking out or trending, you only need 3 strategies. But there's a billion ways to identify each condition. And that's what a strategy is. It's a way of applying measurement and indicators to price over time to generate profit. But your odds and probability are always the same. So there's always a better way to measure. There's always a better way to manage risk. And all strategy development is over time just tweaking things to make them better. But there's not much else you can do, is there? It's a bit like, I liken it, I've said this before about spinning. I do a lot of spinning, which is, for those that don't know, stationary bikes to music. But basically it's a cardio exercise. But there's only 2 things you can do in a spin class. You can either sit down and sprint, or you can stand and climb, or you can do seated and standing and seating and standing combinations. That's it. That's spinning. There's nothing else you can do. When you're trading, there's nothing you can do but go long or short. And all you do is you wrap risk around it. That's it. And it will either do that or it will do that. There is nothing else. Doesn't matter how many systems, strategies, indicators, EAs, chart types you apply to price. That's all it does. So when you simplify it down, which is what this strategy is, the zone trading strategy, right now it's either going to go and test that high, or it's going to test where it broke out from, because it can't do anything else. 100% of the time it does that. That's it. I can guarantee you within 1 week it will be there or there. There is nothing else. Come back next Friday. One of those 2 things will have happened. Your job is to apply risk around that movement. That's it. Euro New Zealand short at the moment. I need it to get back under that level. So at the moment, I'm kind of hoping, I was hoping it was going to push up today and allow me to get a new trade on so I can get my price up to exit here. But it hasn't. It's coming down. So I hope then in that case we just basically break back down and come and retest that area. But I don't know. I have to wait and see at the minute on that one. Nothing's changed. Euro US dollar short. What's going on? Spooky. US dollar, Euro US dollar short. So obviously got out of all the longs there, flipped short. So looking for continuation down. I'm targeting this area here at the moment. So it's this accumulation basically that we kept spiking around on news, but we broke it there and retested. So I'm looking for an additional retest of this level. I don't know at the moment what the US dollar is doing. The US dollar doesn't know what it's doing. The Fed doesn't know what it's doing. Trump will make it to do something when he opens his mouth. So at the minute, I'm being cautious with my US dollar trades and I'm not looking for much movement. I just want to get in and get out and scalp as much as I can. So I took a short off there before the news, because in case, look, this is exactly what I'm talking about with the Trump era. I took that off before news. News is not news now. Trump is news. So it's just a case of banking along the way with all this sort of stuff at the minute, and trying to take little bits of profit out the US when you can, because at any point in time he could just say, China, we can't be bothered to do business with you anymore, and the US dollar will collapse. Or he'll say, China, we're going to drop all trade tariffs because we love you and we need our iPhones and we need our TikTok. And the US dollar will rally like crazy. But it will be because Trump said something, rather than the fundamentals that the Fed come out and say is happening to interest rates and inflation, because those are all a byproduct of everything that Trump does now. And we are all a byproduct of what the US dollar does. So with the US dollar at the moment, it's just a case of get in, get out, and get money where you can. If it doesn't work out, scale in, because at some point Trump will open his mouth and you'll get out because he said it. So, it's just at the minute, I think we're probably coming down here, but I'm not going to risk it. So there's an argument at the moment for, I don't use trailing stops. I don't use trailing stops. I hate them because they stop you making money. But if you want to use trailing stops, the dollar's a good thing to use it on at the moment. So I'm below my average here. If I stuck a trailing stop on of that size, worst case scenario is Trump opens his mouth and screws it and I get nothing. Trump opens his mouth and pumps it. I'm going to make a fortune. But that's just another way of trading. I'd much rather just get out down there and then wait for some kind of pullback and then enter back in. So that's the plan on that. Pound odd, trying to get long on it, I can't. So we've just broken out of this area here, which is the previous support resistance zone. So it's this area of balance. We tested this level, couldn't get through. We broke up here. We came back. We bought it. We bought it. We bought it. We tried to buy it again, and then the sellers took control. The buyers flipped short and re-added to the short positions. We came back. We had an accumulation. We've just lost. So we're heading back up here, or we're heading back down there. So I was looking to try and get in on this. As soon as this leg started, I've been trying to get in on a pullback. If you've watched the live streams, I've been moving this box up every day, trying to get a pullback. It hasn't pulled back. Now it looks like it's starting to pull back a little bit. So it's tricky to know where to sort of get in on this. Oh my God, that fib's awful. So that is a shallow pullback. So this is not a great area. There's not really any reason for price to reject this level. This accumulation, which is after that move, is more likely, I think, somewhere between here to be the pullback point. So I'm going to target that for the minute and just see if we can get a retest of this accumulation. These highs here, which are uneven highs, basically this sort of area, is what we've broken. So this balance was broken. They have not retested this area yet. So it would make sense to come back and test this area here and bounce from there. So that's what I'm going to try and get in on at the moment. But it's tricky. Can't get in on it. because it's just too parabolic at the minute. But that's what I'll target. It's a bit of a messy accumulation as well. It's very hard. This is the other area that's of interest. This propulsion gap retest here, which is what we're doing right now, is quite possibly where it will bounce from, but it's so far away. I just think it needs to pull back a bit before it goes, but it might not. It might just pop. So I'm not bothered. It will or it won't. Same with the pound CAD. Accumulation at those highs, parabolic move. That's your propulsion gap. Looking for a propulsion gap fill continuation. Although, obviously, with a weak Canadian dollar now, I'm not even sure it's going to get down there. But we'll see. Pound Swiss, same thing. Looking for a pullback into support. Not doing anything at the minute. Pound US, have shorts on. So second entry up at the highs. Looking for continuation leg to the downside. New Zealand CAD, sideways, not gone anywhere. Next entry is going to be back up at resistance. Although it looks like to me this supply-demand area that created the propulsion move is what is holding at the moment. So it's too close for me to get into a new order. So it's either going to come down or it's going to break this supply-demand and it's going to retest the previous high. So that is the short. Obviously, target is to the downside. New Zealand Swiss, longs on at the moment, weak Swiss franc. So I'm looking for a new high to go in and can't really pick a very good level here. So I've looked at this whole big spiky mess before the breakdown started. So this is where we retested those lows. So, oops. So this area here, basically, we tested that, broke it, retested, retested. So everybody that was long here flipped short, added into the shorts. So that's where the short sellers are at the moment. But there are also some short sellers there who re-added to that leg to make that structure. So I'm going to get in when they get back to there. But that level would be potentially another area. So where I am at the minute, this is the danger zone. So I will look at what happens when price gets there, if price gets there. But we've had a crack at that. We've had another crack at that. We are making new highs. So this is an ascending wedge, which is indicative of a breakout to test new highs. So looking for a push up into there. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, out of the shorts yesterday. Nice profit banked yesterday. 1.96 yesterday. Flip long. So yeah. I was targeting this area here. There's a gap here, but I reckon that's probably the unfinished business in that gap feels done. So I'm going to go for those highs and see if we can get all the way up there. So next long on this. It's a mess. Just a bit of a mess, isn't it, really? So we got these highs here, which basically when we broke through them, we did test them. We broke back down and we sort of hovered around a bit, tested it, tested it, tested it, tested it, tested it, tested it. So that is the previous resistance turn support, but it's a messy support. So somewhere in that area, if we get down here, and that is going to be your low, high, higher low for a higher high, somewhere around there, we'll probably find it will add. But if we have done low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, double bottom, we're going to put a range in. One of those. So it's either going to now do that, because that is a market structure break there. And then we're going to come down, retest, put a new lower high in, and then we're going to put a lower low in. So that would be where I'll get back in long. US dollar CAD, second short taken on the spike yesterday. Got 5 on that now. This is tricky. This has changed now. The Canadian dollar's weak. What's the drawdown on this? 2%. $130 is the news. I've got a lot of long exposure on the CAD, which I really don't want at the moment. I'm going to leave that for today. It's the end of the month today. Sorry, I'm thinking hard. Doesn't happen very often. Obviously, there's fundamentals on this shifted completely overnight. Obviously, this trade tariff comes in tomorrow. I'm going to give the CAD the opportunity today to get a decent GDP number. So we're at 0.3. We're forecasting negative GDP, which is, let's just see what the previous GDP figures were. Positive. So this is the first negative. So this is the first step into potential recession. So 3 GDP months in a row negative is recession. So this is the first sort of step into recession that's being forecast today. If we don't get that and we get a 0 or anything above a 0, I think we might get a little bit of a pop in the CAD. So there is an opportunity for this to have a little bit of a pop down today. The other thing that potentially could happen today on this is we've got the US dollar PCE and we've got the unemployment costs, which don't do a lot, but the PCE is forecast to go up for the dollar. If that doesn't go up, we could get a little bit of a spike down in that as well. So there is potential for a little bit of negative movement in this today. So what I might do is wait until 1:30. I'll see what's happened to this. If we've made more progress to the downside, I'm going to close the whole position out in a loss because I don't want too much exposure long on the Canadian dollar. This is in 5 trades and it's not far away from break even. So this is the obvious one to close out because it's the highest risk. So I've got the largest lot size on the US dollar CAD out of all the CAD exposure. I've got 5 positions on 0.5 lots. So that to me is the most dangerous thing I have in the portfolio at the moment. And now that the fundamentals have shifted and the Canadian dollar's potentially got tariffs coming, off we go. So I want to get out. The opposite side of what I've just said is obviously the Canadian GDP number drops lower than a 0.1 and the US has positive news, in which case we're going to be up here. That means I'm going to take a much bigger loss. If that happens, what I will probably do is hit the close oldest button and just start to scale out of 1, maybe 2 positions, meaning that will become my first entry, which means that my average will move up into here. Yeah, so I'll bring my average up by, I've got no ADR indicator on here. I don't know what ADR is. 83. So US dollar CAD is 119. So it's going to buy me around about 3/4 of an ADR of movement. So that's the plan on that one. I'm going to see if the news can help me get out with less than 2% loss. Otherwise, I'm going to take probably more than 2% loss on those 2 positions and then hope next week we just get a pullback of some kind that will allow me to get out with a little bit less loss. It's a risky trade. But the reason I'm doing it is because I've got 19% equity to play with this month. So I can be risky. If it was a bad month, I'd be thinking very hard about closing everything CAD long at the moment. But the thing we have got going for us on this at the moment is the swap long is good. Sorry, that's not a good thing, is it? Yeah, sorry, no, that's not a good thing at all. That's totally the opposite. I need to switch this to long. I do want to be long on it. So everything is pointing to not be in this at the minute. Do you know what I'm going to do? I don't do this often. I'm going to set a hard stop on these positions up here. This is going to lock in somewhere between 2.5% to 3% loss. If that news goes against me, I'm worried that because of what Trump said yesterday, they're going to use today's news to massively add to this Canadian short. And if that's the case, I want out. I want to be gone. So that is 2.07% there at the moment. So roughly 2.5% loss, maybe up to 3%, depending on obviously what happens on the news. Or the news is going to help me out and get me out. So what I might do as well is just move that up into this area here. And what that's going to do is it's just going to get me out of those short positions with a small loss, and it's then going to flip me long, because that's really what I want to be. I want to be long US CAD now. There you go. So I'll do that. US dollar Swiss, longs on it at the moment, or a long. Got out of all the shorts. Very similar situation to this. Look, 6 trades is kind of my line in the sand, where if you get 6 trades in a position, it's not right. You're wrong. You're wrong for a decent amount of time. And that's the point where I start to think about drawdown control. However, obviously, this one just started to work out and eventually got me out. But I got out of that at break even. That was no profit. That was just 6 trades wrong for a month, and I didn't take a loss on it. That's position trading. That's why we do it. And then flip long, because obviously I was looking for a pullback continuation. That was the new low. Going for there. So log on that at the moment, and we should put in a new high. Swiss franc is weak, US dollar is strong. However, and this is the beauty of the Swiss franc, the US dollar Swiss specifically, with a Trump presidency. If Trump comes out and tanks the US dollar, what happens is he tanks the US dollar, everybody panic sells the US dollar, and before they can decide where to put their money, they pump it into the safe havens, the Swiss and the yen. So what happens is the US dollar yen and the US dollar Swiss have parabolic moves, 300% ADR, because not only is everybody selling the US because Trump's opened his mouth and said something stupid, they're also then converting it into the Swiss franc, which powers up the Swiss franc. So this goes twice as far, twice as hard as everything else. Same with the US dollar yen. That will do the same thing. So you just need to be aware of how everything is interlinked in Forex and how everything works around the US dollar. Now we've got Mr. Mouthpiece in charge. Hope he's not watching. Yeah, anything can happen on this, but equally this afternoon we could be there. Yeah, we could equally be there this afternoon. I mean, that's a hell of a move. It's not likely to happen, is it? But I mean, it's going to need 200 pips in either direction, or 100 pips up. US dollar Swiss ADR is only 64, so we'd need a 200 to 300 plus ADR move to get us somewhere of any interest today, which is unlikely to happen, obviously. But anyway, there we go. So there's all the levels done. The other option I've got today, which I may well consider, depending on P&L, is once that news is out and I know what the fate of that trade is, I can also use a lot of this, these other little bits and pieces to bolster that trade. So if I take a 2% loss there, but I bank 0.5% there, 0.25% there, roughly 0.25% there, that's reduced my loss down to 1%. So I might consider just doing some of that to do drawdown control and then reset the zones for where I think we're going next. But that's what it's all about. Position trading and portfolio trading. It's about managing your exposure to everything, not about getting it right, getting it wrong. It's about getting in and waiting for the market to decide where it's going, and then you decide what to do with that information. It's not about trying to find an indicator that does that. Although I have indicators that do that, and they are very good, but they are only signals, and they still have a 50-50 chance of working, don't they? There we go. That's all done. So still no new ADR entries today. No new RSI entries today. Lots of new yen trades on today with the new trend pullback strategy. Again, this is in forward testing. And again, this I'm unsure as to whether or not this is actually going to be successful, because the yen is a different thing to what it was when I developed it, or rather, it's a different thing now to what it was over the backtesting data. We've got positive interest rates on the yen now. We've not had them for 20 years, so all the yen strategies that everybody's traded for 20 years that have all been trend strategies, are they going to work? Who knows? What's the yen going to do next? Right. DAX long. That was your trade today. The 5-15 minute ORB on the FTSE. And at the moment, looking like the DAX as well. That's good. So this is all working. That's what I wanted today, was to test and make sure it worked. I remember before Christmas holidays, you were thinking on improving on the already good Trade Manager Dash, turning it into a more interactive tool to manage orders. Yeah. So the Trade Manager dashboard obviously is an indicator. With no trades on that account, so there's no point in looking at that. But yeah, so it's basically an indicator, so it can't do anything apart from show data. So what I'm looking at, and I've already built a prototype, is to rebuild this as an EA. So it would be an EA rather than an indicator, which will allow you to do things like press that to close it, press that to close it, press that to close it, and then have a tally of what you've just closed, which allows you to then go, I've got 400 I've just closed. I'll close that out as drawdown control. I'll close that out as drawdown control, and I'll take $150 by reducing exposure. Yeah, which will obviously pop that down there. So there's that sort of functionality I wanted to try and add in. There's also new functionality I want to add into the position trader EA to show. I haven't got any trades on at the moment. This is, it just feels weird not having any exposure in the market. It's abnormal. You go back and look at a live stream for the last 4 years, you'll never find this. I've never been flat. Because if I'm flat, I can't make money. You can't be flat. It's an odd feeling. I'm not flat because I've got this account running fine, because this is an always-in strategy, so it's never going to be flat. But it's weird. But the other thing I want to do with the position trader EA is have more interaction in the position trader EA, and the fact that you can see amounts of drawdown and things on each order and stuff like that. So there's lots of other things I want to do just to improve. It's not going to make it any more profit. It's just quality of life. So for me, if I'm looking at something like this now, and like I did with the euro pound, if you look at what I did on the euro pound, I've done it twice this week. I wanted to close out some because of news, and then yesterday I wanted to close out some more because of news. So what I have to do is I have to open up my Trade Explorer, sort, find the orders, or I can press the close oldest button, but I haven't got a close most profitable button, so I had to manually close that, and there's a lot of faffing. And then it's a case of, right, how much have I banked? So then I have to come over here and see what I banked, and then I go, okay, well, I've banked that, so how much drawdown have I got on that one? So can I close that one or that one? And there's a lot of that goes on a lot of the time with me. So I wanted to build the Trade Manager Dash into an EA so that I could just go, right, and maybe have a button that says close all in profit US dollar, close all in profit yen, close all in profit Swiss. So if we've got a US dollar news event, FOMC on Wednesday, for example, and I go, okay, right, anything in US dollar in profit, shut it, because I want it here, because if it goes against me, I'm going to lose it. So take it all. Right? And if it goes my way, I could have made more money, but it might not. There's a 50-50 shot every time a news event comes out of either you going into drawdown or going into profit, obviously. So it's all that sort of quick interaction. It's just to speed up the mundane bits. But obviously I've got 2 strategies in development, new products, support, live rooms, time. I just haven't got time. So yes, I am still working on it is the answer. And it's in development, but I'm thinking I might just farm it out to a coder. I've got a mate who's also an MT4 MT or an MQL5 coder. So I might farm it out to him and just say, look, can you just take this, turn it into an EA and add all this for me, and then get him to do it. But I know what will happen. He'll do that and I'll go, he's not quite right. And I'll need to do it because I have to, it's my OCD in me. I have to have things done right for me as I want them. And I need to have built them so I understand what they're done. With coding, if you get 10 coders in a room and tell them to build something, they'll all build it and code it in a completely different way. And every single one of them will argue with each other as to which way is the best way to do it. Because there is no right and wrong in coding. There is coding. And there's lots of different ways you can do the same thing. So I hate getting people to build. The first version of the Market Reverse Alert CA was built by someone else. I got it and I went, why did you do it that way? And he was Indian. And he said, I'm not going to do an Indian accent because it's terrible. But he's basically said, because that's the way I know how to do it. And I was like, well, you didn't put that into an array. It would have been 10 times faster. Oh. And then I rebuilt it myself. So that's what I do. I can't help it. But it just makes everything slow, you know. So, but I'm not in any rush. I've been doing it this way for 5 years, 6 years. Not hurt me, is it? So it's just lazy. When you get older. I'm not old. I'm only 50 odd, early 50s, 51. I'm in the best shape of my life, most fittest I've ever been in my life. I'm just getting bloody lazy. It's monotonous. I can't be bothered with stuff now. I just want stuff done. I want to be able to just go, oh, shut that and shut that and shut that. Close half of that. Make sure it's the oldest one first. And I just want to press stuff. This is why I build the Position Trader EA with buttons. Because I just want simple. I want to press that and then let something else take over. I don't want to have to do anything to make money. This is I know how to make money. I just don't want to do it. I want something else to do it. I'm never going to retire. My wife asked me the other day, what we're going to do when we retire. I was like, trade. I can't imagine me ever giving up because it's not really a job, is it? It's an obsession. Yeah, except when close to holidays, when you're actively trying to go flat. Yeah. Before Christmas, if you go and look at the live streams before Christmas, I was trying my hardest to get flat for Christmas because we had Trump coming in and all sorts of stuff. Could I? No. What did it do? Put me into more drawdown for Christmas. And then over Christmas, all that happened was we went sideways, didn't we, on everything? Where's Christmas? There. That's not a good example. But yeah, Christmas we just went sideways. So the one time I did want to go flat, the market went, yeah, we'll see it around. Oh, and just before Christmas, we'll pop you into a bit more drawdown, and then we'll sit around. Thanks, market. Why would I expect anything different? You can try and ask the new DeepSeek AI. Yeah. Nah. AI, I've tried AI. It's good. It's really good for some stuff. But the problem with coding is if you don't know how to code, you don't understand how to ask for something to be built. So when you want to use AI to build things, you need to have a detailed understanding of what it needs to do to be able to ask the right thing to get the right result. If you say, build me an EA that trades short when RSI is above the 80 level and goes long above the 30 level, you'll get exactly that. Yeah. But what you haven't asked is when, how, and why you should be shorting above that level. What's the price action pattern that it needs to take? Should it close below? Should it be above? Should it close above? You need all of this information. Otherwise, you'll just get something that as soon as it goes to 80.1, it will go short. And you'll be like, why are you going short? It's still going up. So that's what you told me to do. They're idiots. AI is an idiot. It's a child. It's a 4-year-old child with access to the entire world's knowledge. Anyone seen Terminator? And what we've got now is every country developing their own Terminator. So when Russia's Terminator doesn't like something that the US's Terminator said, what do you think's going to happen to the nuclear arsenals that these Terminators have access to? Because let's face it, it's the internet that runs everything. Yeah. And if it's not the internet that runs everything, it's electricity, which carries the internet everywhere. Anybody worried? I don't think I'm going to see 2040. When was Terminator? When was... what's the Terminator timeline? When's this all happening? 1984? Oh, okay. No, but when was it in the future? 2029. So John Connor led the TechCom and won the war. So Skynet, when did Skynet... 1997. Oh, Skynet became self-aware in 1997. So we've gone past it. So it's about 12 years from when John Connor's born. So we need to know who our John Connor is in our timeline. And then basically go on about 15 years from there. And that's when AI is going to start getting cross. And then there'll be a load of sequels. All have Dark, Death, Enemy, Endgame. Not looking good, is it? Anyway, on that cheery note, so go off and code your own AIs if you want using EAs if you want using AI, but just be aware they may well try to kill you. And also the other thing, if you build your own AI and build your own EAs with AI, the trouble with that is obviously testing. You've got to input all the variables. So you've got to get it to put all the variables in and all that sort of stuff. And it's so complicated. This is why I sell all my stuff as cheap as I possibly can, because it's not that complicated, but it's still very complicated. There's a lot of work goes into it. Sewing Mistakes Unlimited, 92-ish. That's a good name. Sewing Mistakes. Are you sure you're in the right stream? This is about trading. Sewing mistakes. What's a sewing mistake? Have you got a YouTube channel that does people that have tried to make their own clothes and it's gone very badly wrong? Or is it teaching people how to correct their sewing mistakes when they've knitted something and it's gone wrong? Interested to know. I love people's names on YouTube. Both. All right, that's even better. Cool. Right, I'll leave it there. So be aware, obviously, this afternoon, GDP for the CAD and PCE and unemployment for the US. PMI is not likely to do anything. So that's an hour before market open. We've had all the Eurozone. And again, traders now looking for a little bit more cuts in the Eurozone. Realistic for inflation to be near 2% mid-2025. I reckon you'll probably get there faster than that. Rates are nearing a point where they won't curb investment, blah, blah, blah. Kremlin, BRICS aren't discussing common currency. Good one, Putin. It's not going to end well, is it? So, yeah, we'll see what happens. And fixed sewing machines. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. So, yeah, we'll see what happens today with the news. But I will see what US dollar CAD does. It's my only real issue at the minute. So I'm going to be monitoring the CAD positions, basically. I've got plenty of profit to start doing drawdown control, and I'd rather do it sooner than later on those. So, you know, US dollar CAD, I don't really have a problem just taking the lot off today. I'd rather be flat, especially on the US dollar CAD, than anything else. So I'll be in Discord if you need me for anything else. Other than that, I'll be back on Monday. Usual live streams next week. The guys on Wednesdays, 47 people in here. The guys on Wednesdays have asked to do another stream. I say the guys on Wednesdays. The Wednesdays is when I do the US session. So the US guys have asked for another stream. And I don't want to do 2 streams a week. So I'm thinking about moving the Friday stream to 2:30. So I have 2 US sessions a week. And then, but that means just 1 free normal session and then the 2 member streams, which are both UK sessions. So I'm not quite sure what to do. I don't want to upset everybody that comes to the morning sessions, but equally I do get their point, because I used to do 2 streams a day and now I only do 1 because I haven't got time to do 2, because otherwise I'll never get anything done. So I'm toying with the idea of moving the Friday back, but I'm going to have a think about it. I might put a little poll out in Discord or something. But anyway, so as at the moment, everything's as normal next week. So Monday, 8 o'clock. All right. So anything else you need, I'll be in Discord. Other than that, good luck today. Keep your eyes peeled on the CAD later. And I will be back Monday and see you then. Have a good day.